we're at the end of an awful decade. I guess the terrible teens. We went from the double O decade. You know, it's Y2K. It's 9/11. It's George Bush. It's Iraq. It's 27 million people died between George Bush and Barack Obama. Now I'm a little sorry. I have problems speaking, but the BOP has given me throat cancer, and I have advanced throat cancer with a tumor that's actually hanging out of my throat. And but I'm being released on Monday, January 4th, finally, thanks to a confluence of amazing events. Donald Trump's first step back and a directive by the William Barr at the DOJ that said if you're over 50 years old and have served 50% of your sentence, then you can go home to home confinement. But if you want to see how America treats its prophets or how America treats people that are trying to tell them the truth, I was specifically targeted because I was a radio talk show host, and on the orders of Hillary Clinton, they needed to get rid of what they called right-wing radio crazies, and my show was, at that time, I think I was out of 50,000 programs on the internet, mine was ninth. To give you an idea, Alex Jones was, I think, fourth and sixth with Prison Planet and InfoWars. So, a year ago, I talked about how Amy Coney Barrett was going to be. I mean, this is 12 months ago. I talked about how Amy Coney Barrett was going to be on the Supreme Court. Back in 1994, I talked about how this whole period of time was going to be that we were going to be faced with a series of plagues and viruses and all that. So I mean, it's kind of all these things that I've seen for years before are now coming to fruition. You know, right now. So, all right, the average lifespan of a nation is 250 years. And this is the biblical lifespan of a nation. We're at 244 now, so you could say that we've got 6 years left. Depending on where depending on 1776, we do have a little bit of time, maybe, because the first president didn't get to be president until 1789, or when the Bill of Rights was initiated, so that could give us until the year 2039. But there's 4 cycles in the Bible that of 50 years, of 7 times 7, 49, 50 years, where you have to obey the Jubilees 4 times. And if you don't obey those Jubilees, you go into the 5th cycle of discipline. And that 5th cycle of discipline basically shows that how your country is going to be raped and enslaved, and your living carted off, and your industries destroyed. And all of that's happening. We're basically being foreclosed on by China, and Donald Trump is the guy who stopped most of that. And for one really bright, amazing moment in time and space, the needle on the record of doom skipped for a while, and it looked like we had some hope, but an organized, demonic criminal mafia that is now known as the Democratic Party has managed to steal the election. And look, from Jump Street, Trump should have known that he was up against the deep state. And the deep state are the intelligence agencies. And the intelligence agencies are run by the Jesuits. And the Jesuits are run by the Knights of Malta that are ultimately run by the Vatican and the Catholic Church, who are the owners of the United States of America. And if you don't believe me, you can check the Dun & Bradstreet number on on who owns the United States of America. And it's Archbishop Derek McLeod of the Washington, D.C. Archdiocese. So it's kind of interesting as well, because the Mayan calendar, as many people think, is not over yet. The Mayan calendar went into a whole new phase on December 21st of 2012, and the phase that we've gone into is the Night of the Jaguar. So it's a 13-year period. It's going to go from December 21st of 2012 to December 21st of 2025. And all of this correlates to the astrological chart of the United States. It correlates also to the return of the Messianic figure, which also the Mayans predict is going to be the year 2039. The Great Pyramid of Giza predicts the coming of the next Messianic figure, the next Christ or Christos, in the year 2039, which the Mayans called the One Reed Year. And it's the completion of a cycle of 52 years of a cycle of the Pleiades, where the Pleiades moves across the sky for 52 years, and it moves back the other way for another 52 years. The last One Reed period was August 17th, 18th, and 19th of 1980 which is what we called, Jose Arguelles called, the harmonic convergence. So if you want to know what's going on, let's go back to the astrological chart of the United States. The astrological chart of the United States has its death, chaos, transformation planet, which is Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn. Pluto is nearing 27 degrees Capricorn now. Now I think it's fascinating that if you look at the history of the United States, you look at the Boston Tea Party of 1773. Trump slides right into that revolutionary area where the last time you actually had Pluto in Capricorn. Now Capricorn also rules banks, it rules constitutions, it rules England actually. England is an Aries country with a Capricorn rising. But all of these things are ruled by Capricorn. And the last time Pluto was in Capricorn was between 1773 and 1786. So it gives you an idea that the revolutionary spirit of America, sorry, it's hard to talk, revolutionary spirit of America is people voting for Donald Trump, and you've seen what's happened to him. And if he doesn't become victorious and he doesn't pull a rabbit out of the hat, and things are up. I mean, there's a reason in 2018 he signed a National Defense Act that talked about how elections could be influenced by foreign powers. He fired Mark Esper, who was the Secretary of Defense, put a new guy in who's a Green Beret. So there's going to be some kind of action. There's going to be something major, and I think he's going to unleash it on January 6th, but we'll see. If that doesn't happen and you get the Biden-Harris administration in, then it's done. Then you're going to see real revolution. You're going to see basically, true Americans with guns. They're going to fight the real revolution. It's going to make Antifa and Black Lives Matter and riots in Portland and Seattle look like roughhousing on the nursery school playground. I mean, you're going to see active revolt in this country, but we're ripe for it because Pluto underneath Capricorn is basically it's tearing away the banks. It's tearing away the political and economic structure. It's going to revamp the money system. And here's the biggest thing. It's going to cross 27 degrees Capricorn four times. First time is in 2022. Then it goes retrograde back 2023. Then it goes forward again 2024. Then it goes backwards. And now Pluto moves briefly for about 8 months into Aquarius. And then finally moves all the way into Aquarius, oddly enough, right at the end of the Night of the Jaguar, where we've been swallowed by the cosmic jaguar. And every time you see a Mayan calendar, by the way, there's a big cat underneath it with his mouth open. And so it swallows all of us, and then we're processed through the guts of the jaguar, so to speak, which is why the jaguar is so important, because the jaguar can go in the trees, it can go in the water. And by the way, jaguars are where Black Panthers come from. I think it's funny that the movie Black Panther, there's no Black Panthers in Africa. They're all from South America and Central America, which makes the whole concept of Black Panthers in Africa kind of dumb. But then we're processed through that. And so it comes out, oddly enough, December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year. It's December 24th of 2025, when Pluto finally moves into Aquarius. When that happens, then we're going to look at gigantic improvements in computer technology and artificial intelligence, and the possible integration of human beings with computers, which I'm not so sure is going to be a good thing. At the same time, however, there's going to be a revolt and a revolution, and Dune called it the Butlerian Jihad, but it's going to be people who are going to be smashing computers and wiping out computer complexes and going back to what they can do. Now, here's another interesting thing. On June 1st of 2022, there's going to be a gigantic supernova that's going to appear in the sky. Madame Blavatsky called it the Death Star, and she said this Death Star would be responsible for a massive culling of humans and animals across the planet. And it's going to appear in the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. It's on the wing of Cygnus the Swan. And you can look up a book by Andy Collins, which is called The Cygnus Mystery, and you can see the significance of swans and how they relate to the British monarchy and what that has to do with. Let me give you one other interesting thing. The planet has a biorhythmic cycle. And the biorhythmic cycle of mind, body, spirit, if you will, but there's a planetary cycle. And that planetary cycle every 20 years, it's a biorhythmic low. And that biorhythmic low is going to be August of approximately August 10th or about August 20th or so of 2023. Now, 20 years ago, when we hit the biorhythmic low, It was when the entire east coast of the United States was blacked out. New York for 3 days, and other parts of it from Ohio all the way over for almost 28 days. If you go back 20 years before that, you've got the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've got Kennedy being assassinated. You go back 20 years before that, and guess what? Back in 1943, you have the USS Eldridge, and I predicted the blackout in New York because the USS Eldridge, in a 60-year time frame, shot through time, reached the end of its tether in 2003, appeared for a blink of an eye, according to Edison, that there was a surge in the blink of an eye, and then it went back on its tether back to 2043. So I wrote a huge article, you can check it in my Delphi Associates newsletter back in the day, in February of 2003, predicting the blackout and that the Eldridge would appear and all this stuff. So that's the biorhythmic. So every single time we hit this low point, you're looking at wars, you're looking at chaos, you're looking at revolution, you're looking at some low point. I mean, 1943 was the biggest one, and this is going to be the end of a 60-year-plus cycle where the whole planet's at war. So we're talking about revolt, revolution. You haven't seen the end of the COVID virus either, because now we're coming up on the next wave of this thing, and it's going to be wave after wave. And it's not so much a threat to human safety because we're living through, all of us are living through a man-made crisis. This is all a man-made crisis. If you look at what gruesome Gavin has done in California, shutting all these business down and not allowing people to actually gain herd immunity, these are man-made crises where they are specifically trying to destroy the middle class. And by destroying the middle class, Marxism, and by the way, all these people who are talking about being democratic socialists, socialism is Marxism and communism is lipstick and a push-up bra. It's the same thing. And it's always what they use. It's why they're called progressives, because they can't get their agenda done all at once, so they progressively turn up the heat to make sure that the frog eventually boils in the pot. So and my dad used to say that, my stepdad, Frank Salomon, used to say, look, my grandfather is more free than me, I'm more free than you, and you're going to be more free than any of your kids, because they're just going to turn it up a bit at a time. And for as I said, for one bright light, we had somebody who came from the outside, who wasn't controlled by these people, who wasn't guilty of some great crime, so they had nothing on him. And the fact that he came in from out of the blue, not being able to be controlled by the Five Eye deep state intelligence agencies and the Jesuits, they set out to destroy him from jump. So all I can see is that he has terrible taste in people. William Barr is a deep state scumbag, and everybody that he's picked so far has somehow betrayed him. Now, I predicted this all the way back in when there was an eclipse right on top of Donald Trump's son. This was August 17th of 2017. And I said the people closest to him would turn on him, that he'd be impeached at that time. He would not be convicted, but he would be impeached. So there's all this stuff. Let me just give, if anybody wants to, let me give you my new email, which is SeanMorton108@gmail.com. That's SeanMorton108 at Gmail. So if you want to email me when I get out, that'll be the way to get in touch with me. So just wanted to wish you a happy New Year. At least 2021 is a 5-year, which is personality, sexuality, and materialization. So the things that we dream and the things that we wish can come to fruition. So God bless us, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and love you a lot. So I'll talk to you soon.